Christian Bale versus Edward Norton. First of all, why are we comparing Christian Bale and Edward Norton? The answer is they have a similar amount of nominations, and they do a lot of similar genres of film.
I like how you left a certain amount of pause, like you might want me to answer. I can't really shit on either one of them too much. I mean, I shit on Christian Bale's Batman voice.
All right.
But I mean, other than that, I mean, what can you say? They're fucking great.
We're going to break this down into two categories. To begin, drama movies. Christian Bale has The Big Short, which he was nominated for, American Hustle, nomination, The Fighter, which he won an Oscar for, Flowers of War, Public Enemies, 3:10 to Yuma, The Prestige, The New World, The Machinist, and American Psycho. Edward Norton has Birdman, which he has a nomination for, American History X, nomination, Primal Fear, nomination, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Moonrise Kingdom, Pride and Glory, The Painted Veil, The Illusionist, Kingdom of Heaven, Red Dragon, Fight Club, and Rounders. So Norton, right out of the gate, has more films that are up to that high quality level.
I think right now, I just don't even remember if we're comparing these or getting ready to bitch about how these guys have been fucking gypped at the awards.
Well, we are coming out. I'm pretty sure that, first of all, Bale doesn't qualify because he won. Norton was on our list.
Yeah.
So there you go. So just looking at these films, let's take a look. What's their best performance? If you had to pick some of their best performance, according to the Oscars, The Fighter is Christian Bale's best performance, and either Birdman, American History X, or Primal Fear are Norton's. So let's just look at Oscar movies. Big Short, American Hustle, The Fighter versus Birdman, American History X, and Primal Fear.
Well, I mean, first off, I'm going to go right off the bat with The Fighter. Obviously, that was a great role.
Yeah, I mean, he lost a shitload of weight. That's an automatic win.
I mean, he went anorexic. I mean, if that doesn't say abusive drug use, what doesn't? But my point being is, you know, we're from New England. My uncle grew up in Lowell around the Ward family, and they saw how these guys interacted. They were friends with, I can't remember the police chief who was the trainer.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
My uncle's... his best friend's mother was working for that police department. They knew him.
Right.
And that could not be a more spot-on image of that character. So even though he's not the central role, that was a phenomenal biopic presentation right there.
Absolutely. So biopic is a good point. Not something we've seen purely tackled by Edward Norton. So maybe Bale has a slight edge with those Oscar caliber movies in biopic. So do you think that Birdman, which was a supporting role, do you see Birdman?
I did.
Okay. Do you think his role in Birdman as a supporting role, I love one specific scene where he's showing Michael Keaton how he should act. And just having that character was very, very interesting. But again, Christian Bale in The Big Short, he's playing like a almost Asperger's character. It's
almost like a played down version
of
his American Psycho character.
Yeah, kinda. And then American Hustle, I think, is great for Bale. Bale went the other way and gained weight. So apparently...
He can gain it, he can lose it, he can do it all.
Gaining weight is not an automatic win, though, which he learned the hard way. But he did do a very good character. He's a con man, greasy, like sleazy.
It looks like they took out some Land O'Lake butter and just rubbed it all over his chest.
And you got to give Norton some credit for American History X, because that, he put on some muscle. Good job. Must have been hard when that's your full-time job. But he had to play a guy who was genuinely extremely racist, and he had to convincingly mesh into a hateful cult.
Not to mention, that's a dangerous role in the first place, because though his character is supposed to see the light, just the first half of that movie, that if you don't play that right, you're fucked.
So out of those Academy Award roles, who did the better job? 3 films versus 3 films. Which roles are better?
It's tough. They both come out swinging. I mean, so many of those roles are so influential. And I mean, with Birdman, what really gets me with that, it would almost counter Christian Bale's biopic in The Fighter, because what I find unique about that is it's so rare that you see an actor get as big and as high up as Edward Norton has, and then sidesteps to play a supporting role and pulls it off successfully.
Right, but Bale, technically American Hustle and The Fighter and The Big Short are all supporting roles. None of those are leads. And he's coming off of large lead roles. So,
well, I would say American Hustle is more of like, it's not a support as much as like, there's multiple leads. It's more of like a group.
Yeah. So what I'm going to say here is I think that The Big Short out of these 6 films is probably the weakest role. It was good, but I don't think Norton in Primal Fear was better. American History X was better. Birdman was better. So I would throw The Big Short out. I just don't think it's anything amazing.
It was a good movie, but I would say that the information that his character dispenses is kind of essential.
Right.
But his character isn't.
So American Hustle, I really liked his transformation, and The Fighter, I think, is probably my favorite single performance out of all of these movies.
I mean, that's a movie I can rewatch over and over.
So who are you leaning towards?
It's hard because my East Coast biasm really wants to kick in there.
It's just one role for that.
I know, but it was such a good one.
I'm going to lean towards Bale based on the fact that The Fighter and The Big Short are both very transformative. And I'm not just talking about his body. The way that he conducts himself, a drug addict, a guy who's trying to help but also has tons of his own struggles. And then The Big Short, or not The Big Short, American Hustle, this greasy con man who screws over a genuine friend. And seeing the emotion that he deals with when he screws over Jeremy Renner's character is really cool. Birdman, egocentric acting role, excellent job. American History X is excellent. I just think American History X was somewhat of an archetype until he comes back from prison and he's kind of changed a bit.
I would almost go so far as to say is, if we're going to compare just the Oscar-nominated movies, I'm actually going to say American History X probably is the best movie we just talked about.
Movie or role?
Well, role in the sense of like difficulty and what he did with it. But I'm going to say Christian Bale probably has the better body of work.
So we're going to
have to go Christian
with
Bale.
Christian Bale. For the rest of the movies, so Bale, Flowers of War, Public Enemies, 3:10 to Yuma, Prestige, New World, Machinist, American Psycho. Norton had The Grand Budapest, Moonrise Kingdom, Pride and Glory, Painted Veil, Illusionist, Kingdom of Heaven, Red Dragon, Fight Club, and Rounders. So for the non-recognized movies, who do you think is better?
Edward Norton.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's clear, because I love a lot of Bale's movies, but Public Enemies, it's good, but it's not great. 3:10 to Yuma is very good, but Russell Crowe is really what makes that so dynamic. The Prestige was excellent. I'll have to give it to that. The Machinist was good. American Psycho was top tier. But if you compare his top tier to the other, Fight Club...
That's what it really comes down to.
Right.
We have talked about Fight Club so many times, so many other people.
So we don't need to go into it.
We don't. My mere point is, it's just, that is a reoccurring theme for anyone who talks about movies. It changed the landscape. And if you pull Fight Club out, I would probably say Christian Bale would win with American Psycho.
I still wouldn't, because if you separate his performances in other movies, they're more memorable. Him in Red Dragon is phenomenal. Red Dragon might not be as good of a movie as Silence of the Lambs, but I think Edward Norton's character was better than Jodie Foster's. He is very, very memorable. And then Moonrise Kingdom, totally different character than anything we've seen him do. He is more eclectic, and he has better consistency when you compare all of those films. So that's going to tie it up for Edward Norton.
I wasn't really thinking about Red Dragon as in depth, but you're right, because I mean that's probably the most comparable to American Psycho.
Yeah.
And there's just a certain level of sickness to that character that it. Don't get me wrong, American Psycho is fantastic, but you're right, it wins.
So the final category are blockbusters. So these are really the only other genre that these two branch out into. Christian Bale's blockbusters, Exodus, God of Kings, which was not received well.
No.
The Dark Knight trilogy, highly
very
critically acclaimed. Terminator Salvation, not received well. Equilibrium, very forgettable. Reign of Fire, good on TV. Edward Norton's blockbusters, he was in The Bourne Legacy. He was the Incredible Hulk, my personal favorite Hulk, and he was in The Italian Job. So, where are you sitting on blockbusters?
Well, I mean, that I almost feel like that's a dumb question.
Well, I mean, let me just say that the Dark Knight trilogy alone...
Trumps
First
everything.
of all, the Dark Knight trilogy is the only blockbuster on Bale's list that's actually good.
Yeah.
But it's a huge good to have. Norton's Incredible Hulk is probably one of the most dynamic superheroes there are. The amount of inward struggle he portrayed in a movie that was hampered by the script was very, very good and
But I think that's
respectable.
what hurts it, is he did a good job in a shitty movie.
And The Bourne Legacy was fairly forgettable. So really, the Dark Knight trilogy, it's just too much of a landmark. And that is going to upset a lot of people who watch this video. And that's going to push Christian Bale to defeat Edward Norton. See you in the comments. Please consider subscribing.
Share us with a friend.
Both of these actors are not quite as eclectic as we thought, but... What the fuck are you...
This is what they call in the movie world breaking. We have been broken.